At the Big Empty, there exists an enemy unlike any other. Skeletons donned in spacesuits that endlessly roam the vast expanse of scientific horrors created by their insane overlords. But how have these abominations come to exist? And why is their behaviour so strange? It all stems from the Sino-American War, where China and the United States fought for resources that they hoped would ensure their survival. We of course know that their efforts were fruitless, and their lands, along with their lives, were transformed into a living hellscape. At the time, they wanted to do whatever they could to ensure they won the war. Armour that transformed your average soldier into a walking tank. Genetically engineered monsters that tore through enemy defences with little to no trouble. And harnesses that could walk an injured soldier back to safety. Scientists at Big Mountain were tasked with designing new technology that could aid the war effort, and the harnesses that you see before you was their answer. They wanted to create a suit that could read the wearer's vital functions in real time, and if the wearer was unfortunate enough to become injured to a certain level that left them unable to move, then the suit would take control and retreat to safety. This autonomous casualty recovery was ambitious, to say the least, but it did sound promising, and much like the other technologies at Big Mountain, they needed to be extensively tested, and for that, they needed live subjects, and we all know they weren't exactly willing volunteers. Chinese Americans, spies, and traitors from the Little Yangtze concentration camp were stolen away in the night to be forced into the suits for testing, and there is no telling what they experienced for the good of the people. In the end, a prototype was created that could achieve what was needed, but due to several issues it never left this stage of development, and mass production remained out of reach. These problems the scientists encountered can be summed up in 3 short points. The first was that if a designated home base, a specific location that the suit should go to, is not defined, then it will enter a perpetual and unpredictable state of wandering, meaning that there was a small chance that the suit would head deeper into enemy territory. The second was that despite being able to calibrate an upper injury threshold that would signal for the suit to take control of motor functions, the sensors were unable to detect if the wearer was still alive, which did mean that sometimes a suit would take control and deliver a dead body, which while wasn't the main focus, it was still useful and could be rebranded as a corpse retrieval service instead. And the third was the suit actually had the ability to record the wearer's movements, and then use said recordings to replicate the actions, meaning if the wearer was familiar with firearms and used them while wearing the suit could now do the same, which, when you think about it, would likely be the suit's best selling point, as a dead soldier would effectively rise from the dead to continue fighting. However, the suit lacks any IFF or identification friend or foe software, meaning any living thing the suit detected was considered to be an enemy. Now these issues could have been ironed out had the Great War not happened and halted their progress. What it also did was allow a combination of these issues to come together to create the enemy that we see. As scientists were cut off from the outside world, as genetically engineered creatures stalked them for food, and as humans inevitably do, fought for resources, they would have become injured, and once reaching a certain level of injury, the suits would have taken control. But without a designated home base, they were left to wander. Helplessly, they would have roamed the crater at the suit's mercy, eventually dying to the elements, or perhaps being mercy killed by a friend. But even after they had died, due to the suit not being able to register the wearer's death, it would have carried on, and with no IFF software, it would have attacked any other scientist it came across, who would have also been wearing a suit because it was their best chance of survival. But it also came with the risk of joining the dead horde that incessantly hunted anything it could, and over 200 years, all that is left of the scientists are their skeletal remains that continue to be marched through the desolate basin that is Big Mountain. As for the jumpsuit itself, it appears to be identical to the spacesuit, the red and yellow offering a stark contrast to the blue terrain. Some suits have a space helmet, while all suits have an oxygen tank, which when coupled together would allow the wearer to delve into areas typically off limits to normal humans. Perhaps they were intended for space warfare or deep sea subterfuge. However, I can't imagine warfare was the intended use, as the only visible armour appears to be the metallic boots and the shield-like chestplate which houses several gauges. Gloves would have once been a part of the suit as well, however they have since deteriorated, which gives way to an important question. How is the suit able to interact with the environment and manipulate weapons? But this is likely just an oversight on the developer's part. However, it does lead onto other strange occurrences that I would like to mention, such as the skeletons bleeding when crippled, or the fact that the remains can be cannibalized and consumed, despite there being no flesh left. Again, these are likely just oversights, but that doesn't make them any less creepy. Scouring the facilities, we see no idiosyncrasies from one trauma harness to the next, meaning everything that made that person who they were has since been lost. Even their names no longer exist. However, there is one exception to this. Inside the X-12 Research Center is the Master Trauma Harness. Inside are the remains of Mr. Harris. But unlike the others who were killed or murdered, Harris choked to death on a giant buffalo gourd seed. As he slipped into unconsciousness, the suit took control, and once he had died, it began to hunt the other researchers. Surprised by what was happening, those still inside the X-12 Research Center fled to the entrance as they had no way to defend themselves, and so they reached out to the X-8 Research Center in the hopes of destroying the now rogue harness. X-8 was more than happy to offer assistance, as they had just created a brand new weapon, the K-9000, and getting to test it out on a live target was a fantastic opportunity. So they sent out their most trusted researcher carrying the weapon. They entered X-12 and prepared themselves for action, but in an unfortunate turn of events, the researcher slipped, the weapon was dropped, and fell to the lower floors. Out of options, the clumsy researcher fled the facility, and Harris's corpse, along with the K-9000, was sealed beneath an impenetrable force field, where it has remained for 200 years, patiently waiting to attack the next living thing to descend the stairs. As for those with a little more freedom, it is anyone's guess as to just how long they will continue to function, endlessly roaming, their bones rattling, with no end in sight. But there does seem to be some strange behaviour that has yet to be answered. While one of the issues that prevented the harness from leaving the prototype stage was its tendency to roam had a home base not been designated, however, the suits do appear to favour certain areas, specifically the inside of the Z-42 Innovative Toxins plant and the outside of the X-7A left field artillery launch. Why have they chosen these specific areas to linger? We don't know. Perhaps the remains they possess had been assigned to these locations, and the suits seem to recall spending a significant amount of time there and loiters out of familiarity. But what if there is some modicum of consciousness that still exists and draws the suits to these locations? I think it is unlikely, but on the off chance that were to be true, I can think of no worse fate than having to experience the same day over and over for 200 years. You have no control of your body, yet you are aware of your actions. You don't eat or sleep. You simply wander and kill until the suit, which might never stop, has been destroyed.
Hey, who turned out the lights?
Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you would like to see in a later video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.